Back in that bag again. Whoa, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Splash City Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Steve Hartman. Really exciting show today. Got two guests on with me. Lots to talk about. We have Wolves making moves left and right, plus the draft in the middle of all of that. And the Lynx are off to a hot start. They are leading the WNBA and in first place at 13-4 at the time of this recording. Exciting time to be a basketball fan in the state of Minnesota. I know there's a lot of strong feelings one way or the other, especially on the Reid LaMelo Ball trade. And we'll talk a lot about that with Derek Long, also known as Croonch, Croonch on social media. And then we'll talk Lynx with the Star Tribune's Cassidy Hettesheimer. Excited to bring her on and talk about the Lynx. There is a lot of excitement for that team, especially without star player Napheesa Collier even playing yet this season. They are in first place. Another thing, just to give you a heads up, there's a couple weeks yet before it kicks off, but the Twin Cities Pro-Am taking place over at De La Salle on the island in Minneapolis. It should be a lot of fun. It's always a good time. There's great basketball played. There's a lot of high-level basketball players that participate, including some professionals, college guys just out of college, some elite local high school players sometimes get in on the action. So if you haven't been there, definitely want to plug that. I'm trying to get the organizers on the pod to talk about it, but love to do that because that's a great experience if you're a basketball fan in the Twin Cities or in the state of Minnesota and you're in the Twin Cities area. There's games starting, I believe it's the week of July 7th, 6th, 7th, that week, I believe games start. So check that out if you have time. They are on Instagram and you can follow them there. Quick note, if you are on TikTok, Splash City Basketball Podcast, I will be posting videos there as well on TikTok. So to give us a follow there. Of course, subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you get your social media, we'll be there. And of course, splashcitybasketball.com. So without further ado, let's get into the content because we got a lot to talk about. We've got Derek Long and I talking about the Timberwolves and the exciting, crazy whirlwind week of Timberwolves basketball. It's been quite a week already. NBA draft took place. Wolves made some moves, lots of moves, big moves, small moves, expected moves, unexpected moves. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot to discuss. Lucky tonight to have Derek Long, also known as Croonch on social media, joining me to break it all down, talk about the Timberwolves, state of the Timberwolves, man. It's been a whirlwind. How are you feeling big picture right now, post LaMelo for Nas trade?
Well, gosh, a little whiplash this morning when the news breaks. We just had twins, and so I had them both double baby Bjorn, and my wife was sleeping a little bit, and I went in and I had to wait. I literally had to wake her up to tell her this because I was like, I cannot wait. I can't believe this is happening. And we're a big Nas Reed household. I'm wearing my Nas Reed merch here from 612 Tees. A little plug for them. But I was kind of shocked. I mean, like when a player like that, like a fan favorite player, gets traded, it's tough right away to digest. But then you see kind of like the whole trade, and you go, okay, LaMelo Ball, like it's the business part of it kind of takes over, and so you have your heart ripped out for a second, and then you're like, but wait a second. This might be pretty good. So
Yeah.
I'm coming down to earth a little bit after you take a whole day of like going through Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. And you have the emotional side where you see these Nas Reed highlights and you feel bad. And then the next thing you see is how good LaMelo Ball is in the pick and roll. And you're like, okay.
Right. The biggest key for you is that you didn't name one of your kids Nas. You went with a different Timberwolves player that hopefully is safe in terms of trading. I'm sure it'd be okay, but that would have been a tough one to handle, I'm sure.
Yeah, if we we might have to change some middle names because now Nas, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Conley, no matter what, I feel like is pretty safe. Even if we named one of our kids Nas, I think just like the people who had the Nas Reed tattoos, I don't think they're gonna be in line erasing him by any means. He's gonna be a legend forever for the Timberwolves. So
Yeah.
They should put the Nasri towel in the rafters. Honestly, I think that might be the move.
The 4KG's jersey. I don't know.
Maybe that could be like the opener for a KG jersey retirement.
There
Just
you go.
getting Nas in the rafters
Yeah.
before that,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah, man, it was crazy. Like we were kind of talking about how, oh, should we do a draft night pod and the Wolves trade out of the first round? And then it's like, do you do a second night pod? And then you wake up the next morning and it's this. So it's just, and as I told you, like, I feel like we've kind of forgotten Julius got traded like less than a week ago. So it's been kind of wild. Let's start in chronological order. Julius Randle gets traded, frees up some money. Like it's felt like a salary dump. But also I think, people kind of all agreed that the fit just wasn't there anymore. It just wasn't working. Like personalities, I don't know what it was. He struggled in the playoffs, especially against the Spurs, but like Cat did too a couple years ago. I don't think that's a reason to trade guys, but it just definitely felt like it was coming at some point. Any like, were you surprised or were you disappointed in what they got back, or is it all starting not going to make sense now that we've seen these other moves?
yeah, I'm a very annoying person to talk off-season basketball with. So it's good that you got me on this
Yeah. Sweet.
pod because
all right, with that, our next guest is
let's leave it at that. I'm a big like you gotta let it play out kind of thing. Like I'm not gonna overreact to something that happens right away. Like in this situation, like you have Ball and you see Ball coming in and you're like, okay, this is obviously going to be your piece for the next 3 years. But then when you have that Randall trade where on paper in a vacuum, that looks horrible because if you compare it to what we just got we traded Cat away, it looks really bad because you're just trading them for nothing. But then if you take a step back and go, okay, this is the beginning of the offseason. Obviously this isn't our move that we're going to make, even though Windhorst was saying this looks like this is what's going to happen. I can go on about Windhorst, but anyways,
yeah.
Based on Connolly's track record, like that this is opening up whatever move is coming, and kind of just opens up a bunch of different avenues, and they're always Tim Connolly's phone minutes. If they had minutes, he'd have to be like he's on the phone probably all day, every day with like GMs, and you kind of know that like some of these guys could be available, like a Ball or a John Morant and guys like that. So you're kind of ready for that. And so I don't know. That part where we got back, and then I saw the trade from Dane Moore explain that trading out the first round, which looks horrible again. Traditionally, you probably don't want to trade back and lose one of your top players. But then the salary part of it kind of makes sense. And like you see a lot of these teams in these second apron, new era, starting to do this because you can kind of fit those guys into your system a little bit longer on a cheaper deal, even though they're pretty much in the same range anyways from first to second round. And so, yeah, looking at the vacuum is obviously shell shocking, and a lot of fans were very upset that night. And then now you're looking, okay, yeah, this is what I'll open up for. So I guess a long way of saying, like, you just gotta kind of let it play out.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely didn't think that was the big deal we were making. Like it felt like we had to move some pieces to do something. I didn't expect what ended up happening with LaMelo necessarily. I was fully set on Nas starting, getting 30, 35 minutes a night, like see what he can do when he plays a full game, because I feel like he's earned it, which I think is why, as we talk about the LaMelo trade later, I was so like heartbroken because I was really excited to see what Nas would do. In the playoffs, having that stretch four with Rudy seemed to work better offensively, like just spacing wise, it was so much better having another solid shooter, especially when you don't have Dante. It just felt like, okay, Nas is going to get his chance. He's earned this. He's kind of grinded through the first few years coming out undrafted. And so I was fully prepared for him to start and like to fill in, maybe load up the bench a little more with guys, or maybe bring in a point guard, but not maybe a starting and all-star caliber one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then to your point about the draft, I like what you said though, because it's so true. Like we end up getting a guy many people rated as a first-round player. I did not
Mhm.
think Isaiah Evans would be there. I'm a Duke fan,
Oh, yeah.
watched a ton of Isaiah Evans. Did not think he'd be there at 28, and especially at 33. So
Yeah.
like when I did a pre-draft pod with Terry Horseman, I was like, I'm looking at some different guys. What surprised me was like Bennett Sturts,
Yeah.
Christian Anderson. They went way earlier than I thought. They were like 14, 15, 16 in that range. And so I think to get a 6'6", really good shooter who played in a lot of big games, had big moments, not a great defender, but like 6'6", like certainly capable, not worse than Bones. That's what I
Mhm.
described him as. Somebody was asking me what I know about him because they know I'm a Duke fan. I said, well, he's going to shoot it like Bones. He's not going to handle it like Bones, but he's a better defender than Bones. So it's like kind of, he's got some juice off the bench. That's what he is. So I like that. And it was like basically kind of a late first round pick anyway. And then you gain the financial flexibility of him being second round. So that was, I actually think that worked out pretty well for the Wolves. We'll see, if he develops and becomes a rotation guy down the road. But um, so yeah, that draft night kind of a buzzkill. Any big takeaways though from like the first round, or like any surprises? Just draft general talkers.
Yeah, I like again. I'm such a boring off-season
I know
person to
you haven't
talk
seen
to,
him
but
play an NBA game. I get it,
yeah,
but
I'm a big like. Well, I have no grades, no grades for me. I'm just like,
no.
I'll see a guy and I go, okay, I see them fitting in certain places, and so for draft wise, like I don't think there was anything that like surprised me. Obviously, there's a lot of guards that you like. This would have been a great draft for like the Wolves to be high up in, but like it is what it is. I'd rather them be competitive and go for it than tank to get
Yeah,
one of these picks. Which, anyways,
yeah.
um, but like you see like Evans, like I really like I just dove in today because I'm like we draft a guy, I'm gonna see kind of like what he's all about, so I do everything
Yeah.
backwards. And so I got like I go, okay, where can he fit in our game? And like it's kind of funny because like his like structure of how he like plays and moves on the court reminds me of like a mini me version of like Jaden McDaniels.
Mm.
Which is kind of a weird comp, and probably something that he's not like compared to a lot, but like the way he kind of moves on the floor, his like kind of like like I feel like he could be a volume scorer guy. I know in high school he seemed like, I was kind of looking at like some high school stuff too, because that's interesting to me. Is like he's kind of like a dude in high school, like all these guys are, but like he kind of seems like a guy who could like fill it up if he needed to. And Jaden
Hmm.
McDaniels was kind of like that too. And you had this length that you're like, man, if you're in certain situations, like he's gonna kind of swallow up some guards if he gains like some muscle, which he will. And like you saw with like Yon, Berenger, the first like couple months, he looked like a completely different person. And that's what happened. That's going to happen to Isaiah there. So I like the pick there. Yeah, you kind of take who comes to you in that situation in the second round, and I think we've had some success with some guys like Terrence Shannon Jr. and like Yon, obviously, but we've also struck out a couple guys that.
Hmm.
So that's just kind of how the draft goes, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see kind of how if he kind of cracks different. I don't expect him to kind of make a big splash right away, but again, you never know. So
Yeah. Especially with Chris Finch, not
yeah,
known for playing younger guys. But I do think like he comes from he played 2 years of college, so he's not a freshman. He comes from a team that was good, really good defensively. Duke was really good defensively. Shire is a good coach. And I think they run some pretty like sophisticated stuff. And not to say that the Wolves necessarily do a lot of sophisticated stuff, but like he knows how to play off the ball, which is what he's
hmm
going to do. I'm thinking like second unit with Terrence Shannon, he's a great fit because he can
yeah,
spot up and shoot, and Shannon can get downhill. And so I kind of like I like that part of it. I saw somebody compare him to another Duke player, Brandon Ingram, which I thought
Oh, that's
he
a
does
great.
play a lot like Brandon Ingram. Just he's 3 inches shorter or 2 inches shorter, but he kind of moves and strides like him.
That's a great comparison. Like it actually, like
Yeah.
now I'm like seeing them like, yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Like his shooting is really exciting for me. I like his quick releases, and he's so. I mean, he's so tall and he elevates so much that like when he does, he might. I mean, LaMelo, the Hornets like spammed this like ghost screen action that they would run.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just type in like LaMelo Ball highlights from last year, if you're excited and want to watch it, half of the highlights are like Con Knipple or like Trey Mann or any of those guys just coming up and like setting like a little like ghost screen and pop out. And if you have a guy like that coming in the game, like he's gonna get some looks, and they might start running that with Ant. Like who knows
Yeah.
what will happen, but I do like his shooting. His shooting is his biggest upside there, and we can always use more shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, definitely something with Dante being out. Um, so that's the other thing. Like, I don't know what the plan is with him long term. It doesn't sound like he's going to play at least until April of next year. So that's kind of a bummer. 'Cause I think
Yeah.
this upcoming season's his last on his contract. So, but I do want to go back. I kind of skipped ahead. Ayo gets re-signed. Um, which I
Seems
was
like
excited
months
about.
ago.
Well, like yes, exactly. So they move Randall and then they re-sign Ayo. I From what I've seen, like people are kind of projecting them going with like this LaMelo, and Ayo 3 guard kind of lineup.
Hmm.
Um, which I guess could work depending on what else they get. But just overall, were you excited to get Ayo back? I feel like $19 million a year is a pretty good deal for that
Mhm.
guy. I mean, for especially if he was a starter, like that's pretty cheap for starter money.
Yeah, I'm very excited about. I loved Io from last year. Like I think he's kind of again a perfect. Even if we didn't get Ball, I would still be excited with him alongside Ant.
Hmm.
Obviously the postseason didn't end. He was dealing with some injuries, and so like I'm not gonna like get like dog him too much at the end of the year, but like he kind of fits that mold of what we kind of are going for, like a guy that can catch and just get downhill, guy catch and attack those gaps. And I like his defense too. Like he's another guy you can kind of throw in because Jaden like they're gonna have Jaden guarding primary ball handlers. Io is a guy that they could just throw into the mix and be that second guy that's gonna guard, especially if Dante's out.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I especially it looks a lot better now because you can play like you said the 3 guards with Ball, Ant, and him, and then have Jaden at the 4, and then Ball doesn't have to guard. Ball and Ant don't have to guard that primary guy, or Jaden doesn't either. He could be more of like that rim protector guy that he likes to be
Hmm.
sometimes, and that's a suffocating. That could be a suffocating team because you don't give up a ton of on the offensive end either, and that team's fast. Like that's what I
Hmm.
kind of like. Jaden, I'm kind of team. I know I didn't say this at the beginning, but like, if we don't go out and get like a power forward in that like a traditional sense of like we need a guy that's been playing that forward spot, and we just kind of slide Jaden into that like power forward spot, and just run the crap out of teams. I I don't mind that honestly because I like the spacing on the offensive end. I like the transition aspect of it, and I think Jaden's pretty physical enough and good enough for like rim protector to defend down low as kind of like that power forward kind of guy. So uh I guess I kind of answered a bunch of things.
It's
But
okay.
yeah,
There's a lot to talk about.
but IL kind of gives you that flexibility is kind of what I'm trying to say here is,
Yeah.
yeah, he's gonna be good for us, and I don't mind them. I never mind the money that like it always is shell shocking to see the money, but then you look a couple years down the line, and you're like, man, we actually have a pretty good deal because those guys are kind of gonna get their money that seems a little bit more expensive than what they have gotten in the past couple of years, but then it always ends up being kind of pretty good value.
Yeah. Um, so you talked about the playoffs a little bit with this group, and yeah, Iowa's hurt. Ant was obviously like 50, 60%. And no Dante. So this goes back to a larger thought I had going into the offseason of like, I didn't think we needed to do much. I think
No.
if fully healthy, we are pushing the Spurs in 7, maybe winning that series.
Yeah.
Potentially, whatever. You never know. But so I was like, it was unlucky. We just kind of like the Thunder, they weren't healthy either. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. So I was kind of anti like getting rid of the Nas, Jaden, and Ayo. Like I wanted to keep that group together.
Yeah.
And part of it is with Ayo, he was one of the few guys that pushed the pace. You could see it immediately that Rudy would outlet to him and the ball would get going. And I know Ant doesn't love to play that way, but I think he would, and I think he's going to have to now, especially with the group we got. But the guy that does like to play more like that is Jaden,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you're right about Jaden on defense too, because, you look at the Spurs, right? Who was there for? Champagny,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the Knicks, who's the Knicks for? OG?
Yeah.
Who's
Hart.
more physical. What's that?
Even Hart sometimes was in the mix there.
Right. Yeah.
But
So
like,
that's to your point, like it's kind of a different game right now. It does kind of make me nervous because it feels like that was our strength the
mhm.
last couple of years was our size and physicality. And then
Yeah.
you lose that. But Jaden, I think given more, even with, maybe Io takes the point of attack more and then Jaden's that, roamer and he's
Yeah.
turning more shots or something. But, so yeah, I like the Iowa signing. I'm on board. I'm excited for him to be on this team. I think he's super versatile. He's kind of the Dante kind of guy,
Hmm.
does a little bit of everything, plays good defense, plays hard all the time, which is just with this group, I feel like you need, because
Yeah.
Ant struggles with that sometimes. But so now that brings us to the LaMelo Nas trade. And I'm starting to talk myself into getting excited about it. I've kind of been an anti-LaMelo guy. Part of it's the flamboyance of dad and him and his, just their overall vibe. But even in the draft, I remember just kind of hating that everybody was like LaMelo, 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 even though Ant went 1. LaMelo got Rookie of the Year. And I'm thinking, are you serious? Like Ant is better than this guy. And now I'm we talked about this. I'm thinking about the lobs to Rudy. I'm thinking about hitting Jaden on a cut along the baseline. I'm thinking of, breaking the paint, pitching to Ant with a feet set 3 instead of having to work for 20 seconds to get one off. Like it's just, there could be a lot of beautiful basketball being played with this group. As much as I hate to see Nas go.
Yeah. We talked about Nas's importance at the beginning and like how much everyone's gonna miss it. It's a tough pill to swallow. It is, truly is. But like you see what LaMelo could do. This might be the best team that he's been on since he was in high school with his brothers, where that Chino Hills team where it was just him and his brothers. And if you go back and like watch some of that stuff, and like that's what level of like offense we're going to be seeing with like him and Ant side by side, like 1 and 2. It's like not necessarily needs to be like a your turn my turn kind of thing. Like you see sometimes that happens and it's like, ugh, this is becoming like I'm forcing my stuff. I think LaMelo is pretty like, I think he's an underratedly basketball smart guy. I just think that he's had to do like everything for Charlotte for the years that he's been there, and hasn't had a lot of like strong coaching, I would say, until last year. And there was moments where he kind of almost like fell out of like rotational spots because he was kind of like had to be like kind of like, hey, we got to bring you in here. You're not kind of running the stuff that we want to go to. And I feel like he responded well to that. I would say like really randomly, like I'm not a huge like Melo Ball stan. Like I'm not like he's incredible, like has been the best like underrated person, but like or underrated player, I should say. But I do like respect his like skill and his like craftiness and stuff. I kind of, before we went on, I kind of called him like Mike Conley on steroids. like if you go back and watch Memphis, Mike Conley, like his passing ability, scoring ability at all three levels, they'd be like that. But if you added like a bunch of inches to him and like all the flair and stuff, like it's crazy to say, but like this is like what you're going to be seeing with Ball. Now, character wise, I know that's like kind of a big part of him in general. Like people just don't like his like how he presents himself. I give people watching this, go to Facebook. I don't even know if it's still on there. They have their TV show that they had called Ball in the Family, I believe it is. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but this is like back when he was like in high school.
No, I vaguely remember this.
You do? Okay. Kind of a ridiculous show, but like you watch that and you kind of leave going, they're not that bad. Like they like he's just like he's a kind of like a dad's a crazy person. Like you don't really hear about him a lot now, but like he does everything for his family. They're big family people. Like it's kind of funny. Like you see more of a personality, like more of a personable presence in there, and like you see that man, this kid kind of has like a heart of gold, deep down, and he seems like a guy that like people like don't talk bad about in the locker room. He's not talking bad about teammates. He's just playing basketball, and that's what he loves to do. And it's kind of like will fit in. I think he will fit in well with that. Like for what we had to give up, like a heart and soul, like LaMelo, all you need to do, LaMelo, you're watching this. All you need to do is play hard like Nas Reed would do every night, and they'll have LaMelo towels for you. The fans, all they want is someone who's not going to be moody. I don't see him as a moody guy. He's just a guy that shows up and plays ball. And then, ironically, it just play hard. Just play hard and like just be a good person. That's all we need is.
So counterpoint, my question then becomes, why would Charlotte move him? That's like my number one concern. I have other concerns, but that's my number one. You just had the best season in your franchise for what, 10 years, 15 years? Your cornerstone player who apparently, made it all go. He was the engine, and you move him for a sixth man. For a role play, Nas is not, he'll probably start, I guess, but like has never started in his career. So something's up there. That something about that to me says Charlotte didn't love him enough and didn't think they had enough of a future. Which worries me because what have we said about the Wolves for the last couple of years? They're not mature. They're not a professional basketball team. They don't know how to, compete when it matters. They don't know how to finish a game or play a whole season. They dink around. That we've said that for years. I don't think this helps solve that problem, in my opinion. And maybe I could be wrong, but those are the two things that I look at this and I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. But everything else you said, 100% agree with. Like, I think it's going to be probably the best backcourt in the NBA. Just talent-wise, you have two all-stars in your backcourt. They're both 24 years old. It's crazy. But man, when you're going up against the pressure from the Thunder and the Spurs, is this going to be the guy that can, handle that pressure and get the ball across and make the decisions and, that kind of stuff? Like, I get it. He was probably the best option, but like those are just concerns I have because it makes me confused why Charlotte would move him.
So counterpoint to the counterpoint.
Ooh, yeah, I like it. All right.
So let's use this. Let's use the same thought process of like, why would they get rid of them? Let's use it for when we got rid of Cat. So you go, okay, salary situation. Yes. And also, like you're looking at their team, it's like, well, maybe he doesn't fit well in what we're trying to do. Like Charles Lee's a very like with team, like watching him with like coaching Team Canada, very like structured guy. Like he wants everything to be like, kind of like almost like an OKC type of, like vibe where you're like everything's kind of run through like a certain system. And if you have like a LaMelo Ball, his best like trait is like playmaking and free, like I hate to say freelancing, but it kind of is like that, where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
you have your first read, and if it's not there, like I'm gonna make something happen. And like end of the shot clock, I'm making something happen. Or I might not run it exactly how you want it to go, and it might be frustrating, but like half the time I'm gonna make a great play, but it's just not like it's not what we need as their team. So with that being said, like, is this like their kind of like cat trade Wolves version of that? You know what I mean? Like where they want to kind of build what they're building, and he doesn't really fit into. He's been there forever, but we need to move on from him. He just needs to change the scenery. And with that being said, what happened with Cat when he moved to more of a different, like, we got Finch, who like is more, I hate that, like, he's a really good players. He's a great players coach, but also is pretty demanding, I think, at the same time. And Ant's obviously had the great success there. So like LaMelo's not coming in and being like, I'm the dude. He's coming in and being like, this is my opportunity to win and be part of this. And so this could be like an experience for him where he comes in and goes, I'm going to do everything possible to help win. And I might have to take a back seat and not be the dude. Like Cat, it was kind of a struggle of having maybe to give that up. I know he was all for it, and he said he was all for it, but like deep down, like he was there forever. And so like you kind of sometimes have to move on from this kind of things, change the scenery, and it might be better for both franchises. So that's my kind of like counterpoint to that. But again, like you look at it, like why would they give him up? There must be some red flags that we're not seeing. And I think all the things you brought up were like, he kind of how he plays is very disruptive to like a team basketball game.
I think the style of play thing you brought up though makes a ton of sense, because I think Finch typically is kind of like, let's just let the guys play and like figure it out. And so that's kind of been a knock on him, right? Is like there's not enough structure of getting the shot they want like every time, because he kind of just lets them figure it out. And that could fit it. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier about like him throwing lobs, him hitting back cutters, like guys moving, like Ayo moves great without the ball. Like LaMelo is great for that kind of a system, I think. And so the only other concern I have, because I am excited. Like I think this is going to be a fun team to watch. My only other concern is his health. And I know that can be kind of a finicky, like, you know, how much of that was them saying, hey, don't play. We want to kind of tank the rest of the season. We know we're not good. But his rookie year was COVID year. They played 51 total games. He played 31. Next year, he played all 75. The next year, or no, he played 75. Next year, he played 36, 22, 47. If we're only getting 40, 45 games, this is going to be you're kind of back into the same struggle, because now we don't have as much depth as we've had probably the last couple of years, unless we get another move. But when healthy, when playing, not the most efficient scorer, but he's got some potential. He puts up the points, but like I'm looking at field goal percentage, true shooting percentage isn't great. 3-point percentage is okay, 36, 37. So it's enough at least that you have to respect it, right? So when you move off, like I'm thinking of those games where Ant gets doubled and you're throwing it to LaMelo now, and now you're making plays. You're not just confused. So it'll be.
He's
good.
He's a very good, like, I think he's a great shooter, but when he has to, like, a lot of his shots that he's like shooting, why his field goal percentage is probably like looks bad, is he's chucking up a lot of shots to try to just be, he's got to be the dude for so many years there in Charlotte.
And the shot clock stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And he like, you watch his highlights and you're like, man, there's no way this goes in all the time. It definitely doesn't if you're been watching him as a Charlotte fan. But like, I know every time that we play him in the past, I was always so terrified of him because he's so efficient in like the pick and roll that like I can't imagine seeing him next year on the Wolves like not be super efficient with having a guy next to him like Ant, where LaMelo doesn't have to burden on the whole load. Ant doesn't have to burden the whole load. And that 1-2 punch is just I can just picture it right now. I'm just maybe too optimistic about that, but yeah, I don't know.
I
It's
think the other thing too is
yeah,
Rudy is one of the best screeners in basketball.
incredible. Number one.
So you get LaMelo off of him, and then the next time down it's Ant, and you got to
Yeah.
like try to navigate that between. If you're guarding Rudy, you got one instance you're guarding LaMelo out on whatever, however you're covering the ball screen, but like that's going to be tough to deal with for anybody. So
Yeah, 100%. I'd say
let's
with the
back,
health, sorry, the health thing, I didn't realize I didn't answer that part. I think a lot, like you said, a lot of it might have been just like, man, we're not trying to push you. We're going to rest some of those things that have been bothering you. But I like, again, coming over to the Wolves, underrated part of the Timberwolves organization is our training staff. And again, I don't know any of the names of the people involved in that, but like, how many times do we have guys who are like out for, and besides this last playoff run, it's a bad time to talk about injuries, I guess, but like
well,
we rarely have guys who are like, man, this guy can never get healthy. He's always out. It always seems to be that there might be some injuries that happen throughout the season that they don't last as long as like a lot of teams you hear like, man, if they could just stay healthy. So it'll be
yeah.
interesting to see.
Yeah, I think that's
sense.
partly their culture too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ant doesn't want to sit out.
Yeah.
I mean, he played on one leg in the playoffs. Side note on that, like people were kind of, oh, Wolves lost. They need to do some changes. I'm watching these highlights of Anthony Edwards from like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and he's hammering dunks on everybody. And I'm like, that dude was at 50%.
Yeah.
Like he never went to the hole like that. And the year before that, he was just punishing. That dunk on Jackson Hayes in the playoffs 2 years ago against the Lakers. He had one against the Mavericks in the conference finals a couple years ago. That was insane. Like he did that regularly and never even tried in the playoffs. And that's how you know he was nowhere near 100%. Nowhere.
Yeah.
So anyway, last thing I want to talk about, any more moves? Like, what do you think they need yet? Because they got essentially Ayo, LaMelo, Jaden, Ant, and Rudy starting. Assumption is Yohan, they feel good enough about Yohan that he's going to be the backup center. He's going to probably play 15 minutes a night at least, which, not to go down this path, but I still feel like we have an issue playing the Thunder and some of the teams in the West. If Rudy's the only center you have, viable center that's going to play big minutes. But Shannon Jr., I feel like I'm missing somebody. Is there somebody else on the roster that's signed?
We got Josh Green as of now.
Josh Green, yeah, who's a defender, kind of a 3-and-D guy. And then TJ Shannon, Bones Highland's a free agent, I believe.
Yeah, no, you listed everybody. I mean, okay. Isaiah Evans, and then Julian,
Isaiah Evans. So essentially, he might be Julian Phillips, Isaiah Evans might be, but it's Shannon Berenger at this point.
Yeah.
So thinking of that as the roster right now, what would you say? Like, we got to get a backup here. This is kind of the last piece or two that we probably fill up the roster.
Well, first and foremost, we need to do whatever it takes to get Mike Conley back in the building. Just for a lot of reasons, but I just think, in all seriousness, I think, like you mentioned, we went from having like a pretty old roster to now a very like young roster, and I think no better person to pair up with a LaMelo Ball than a Mike Conley to just kind of like teach him a little bit more of like what we're looking for in certain things and kind of get him up to speed, because like coming in as a point guard, you're kind of having to like run the show. And the best part about Mike Conley's game is he can kind of just run the show and not have to get a call from the coach every single time down the court. He can put guys in the right spot. And so I think like having him is kind of like a brains of the operation, kind of like in that Joe Ingles type of role from last year. I think you could see that happening. He looked good
in the playoffs too, man.
I
gotta say,
he's such an athlete.
Like he could still play. So if you needed 5 to 10 minutes on a night, Mike would be great.
Yeah. And that's like a lot of lot of people are worried about that because like, wow, like Finch can't help himself. He just throw him in the game. I think it's a whole different situation now. But you still have like, according to Tim Garrison, he's a great follow on Twitter for like cap stuff because I'm horrible at this. Again, not the best person to have for off-season pod, but I do love talking about the X's and O's stuff, and that's and Wolves basketball in general. But he mentions that there's like a $6 million like taxpayer exemption, so you're now in like that first apron, second apron zone. You get these like little bonuses, like little perks, I guess you can call them, where you can like cash those in and get something out of it. And so $6 million to get a free agent. So we have 11 roster spots. So if you're looking like $6 million, I'm looking kind of at like some unrestricted free agents. So you have like Yabusele, who was just on Chicago. He was on Philly for a bit there. The French, that French connection with Rudy. He's a power forward. He's under that $6 million or expected there. Some other guys would be like if we're looking power forwards, there's not a lot of options under that type of
What about Precious Achua?
Oh, I like him.
Is he in that range?
He might be a little bit
more expensive.
Yeah, a little bit more expensive, a little bit more, but yeah, he's a little. Oh wait, no, he's just a little bit. He could be an option there, but otherwise, like you're signing a bunch of guys in like those vet minimums, and so there's still a lot of options out there. Like, gosh, you have like a Gary Payton there for like $3 million. He's kind of an interesting guy that you could throw in the mix. I'm just looking for depth at this point. Like I'm a believer that Jaden McDaniels can play that 4, and I kind of want like Jaden to be more in that spot where we need him to be on the court quite a bit. That's just my opinion, I guess. But if you're looking, I would say depth probably more in like some bigs because we have a lot of guards right now, and not a lot of bigs. Yeah, I mean, like a Marvin Bagley the third. Does he still have juice in the? I'm just looking through the list right here, and yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine if they're not going to make a trade. You're just picking up guys like you're re-signing maybe Bones, you're re-signing Conley, which sounds like it's going to happen. And so if they're re-signing those 2 guys for sure, then you're probably looking at some like backcourt help, or sorry, not backcourt help, some front court help, but like some size,
which is kind of what. I mean, I feel like they've kind of needed, even when they had Nas, I felt like that was what they needed probably. So nothing really changes with that. So they'll probably pick up, like you said, a couple guys, sub $10 million a year or whatever, and call it a day. And I guess, how does that make you feel? You ready for Wolves basketball already? It's not even July yet.
I'm very much ready. I was ready, like we were talking about before. I was ready with just if it was no LaMelo Ball. Like I was like, man, I'm excited to see kind of how this works. Like no matter what, I think Dane Moore and Kyle Teige talked about this on their pod. Like this is this is kind of like a new era. We've entered this new era. We've had a couple iterations of like some contending type of teams learning to grow. Ant's 24 years old. And the core group that we had with Nas and Jaden and those guys, like obviously that split up a little bit, but Ant's still 24. And so like you're seeing this roster go from like this kind of like a bunch of veterans and like Ant and Jaden and Nas. Now you're like, this is like we've learned all we've needed to learn from like these veterans. Now it's like we're going to open up this window here and we're really going to make a run for it. And so I don't know. It's gonna be a fun experience to see. I'm excited for some of these young guys to kind of get like more opportunities because it's gonna happen. Because based on how the roster is kind of laid out right now, unless a trade happens, like Terrence Shannon Jr., he's gonna get some run, and so I'm excited to see something new. And I think this is like we've tried a bunch of different things with Ant. And I think we all could agree he just needed a second fiddle. And we finally have that second fiddle, the guy that can space it out. This is the most space that the Ant era Timberwolves have ever had. I know Rudy's there, and you hear that, but he still can, like, with his picking ability, is still going to space out the floor big time. And so, I don't know. I'm super excited, and I think it's going to be a fun experience. And the first Melo Ant 1-2 combo, they're scoring like 10 points straight, and there's a timeout called. The Target Center is going to go crazy because no matter what, even if we're not as good and we don't win it all, it's going to be fun to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be entertaining. I don't think there's a world where this team isn't top 6 in the West again. Like, I feel like as long as they have Ant, Jaden, and Rudy, they're kind of in that pecking order. And then we'll see. Like, if LaMelo is healthy and playing well and like distributing and it works, they're gonna be up in that group. Like, I do think part of this is we didn't have enough ball handling against the Spurs. We didn't have enough athleticism. We didn't have enough youth. Part of it was injuries, but like, even if Dante's older, Julius was older and didn't play well, like, it's just like, hey, we're gonna kind of see what we got with this younger, faster group. And yeah, nobody out west really has that power forward guy that you have to really worry about him posting up anyway. So this lineup could work. It's going to be fun. One other thing we didn't talk about, but congrats to Micah Nori on I feel like this is a death sentence in Portland. A 1-year contract. Like, what are we doing? I feel bad for him that he has to go to that owner, but shouts to him for getting a head coaching gig, because it's well deserved.
Yeah, I'm super happy for him. He's always, like, I think he's kind of a very, obviously, clearly his name's been in the hat for a while here of like potential hires. And he just never had the right situation. It sounded like that he wanted to go. And like Finch said in his like press conference thing that he had, like, there's only so many opportunities you have for this. And so it's good to see him get his flowers and get an opportunity there. And I think again, I wish he would have just gone to like not Portland, because it's like, and not for like the whatever this contract situation. Whatever, it is what it is. But like, having to face him, because he's gonna know like all the, like, he did that with Jokic. He's gonna know all Ant's like things. They're gonna be a pest this next year, like at least this next year, if not further, because Micah's gonna be like, hey, this is how you stop. This is how you slow down Ant. Just like he did with Jokic. On the other
nice
end,
little up and coming team, like made the playoffs this year. That was cool, man. So I'll be thinking about you when I'm out in summer league here in a couple of weeks. I'll tell you that. I'll give you the lowdown on Isaiah Evans, see how he looks. I'm excited to see him and Yohan and Rocco out on the court. Like, I think that'll be a blast. So.
This might be one of the best. If you threw Terrence Shannon Jr. there in the mix, this might be one of the best summer league teams of all time.
He looked so good last year. I was just ready for him to pop off, and then it didn't come until the playoffs. But it was cool. I mean, this draft class alone is going to be worth it to go watch them out there.
Yeah.
So.
You're gonna. I mean, I'm gonna live vicariously through your different posts that you have all over the place, and I can't wait to see. You're gonna be sitting like right next to Chris Finch, I'm guessing, and
I'm sure,
or a couple rows away. Oh man,
well,
it's my
so
dream to do
last
that.
year, quick story. So last year the Wolves were playing, and they're in the small gym there at UNLV called the Pavilion, Cox Pavilion, and Ant and Nas come in, and I texted a buddy. I'm like, if Ant and LaMelo come in together this year, man, the place is gonna feel electric. I can't wait.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we have a pretty cool team. I love it.
Yeah, we'll see how LaMelo does on black ice this winter, because Steph Marbury bolted because of black ice, and LaMelo is not known for his driving safety, and his.
They better just get him like a loft uptown or downtown, and somebody needs to drive him home.
I saw somebody say something like, "I'd quit my job if you would pay me to drive him around."
100%.
So, all right, man. Well, this is super fun. Thanks again for joining me, Derek, known as Crunch with 2 O's on social, and Sideline Vibes podcast. Probably picking that up a little bit more in the fall.
Yeah,
correct?
and I'm doing some Lynx stuff.
Oh, okay.
I know you're talking a little bit of Lynx in this episode here, and I just
Yep.
love Olivia Miles and what they're doing. If you don't watch Lynx basketball, you better start watching, because that is some fun hoops over there. And I did start a little bit now, because I'm on like kind of like a paternity leave, I guess. All hands on deck here in our household with the twins. I'm kind of dabbling into some like writing, going backwards. I started. Usually, like, you start writing, then you go to podcasts. I'm going backwards. I did my podcast, and now I'm taking a break from the podcast and going and doing writing. And so I started doing like a couple like articles. I got a Substack, Derek Long, aka Crunch. You can follow it there. I do like my quarterly reports over there. So I did my first quarter Lynx report there. It's kind of a long, dorky read, but if you're a basketball lover, you might enjoy that a little bit. Other than that, that's kind of what I'm going with right now until the fall and winter.
Well,
next year.
nobody can, you be a father first. You got the twins. You're busy, man.
Yeah.
You got your high school team. You're doing summer workouts, man.
Yeah.
It's all good. So, kudos. I'm actually in the same boat, like doing a little writing too. So go for basketball.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's just media conglomerates. We gotta own all the mediums here.
yeah. That's just, yeah. Gotta. Otherwise, we're just annoying our wives about
Right.
all the things. Like, this is the avenue. Otherwise, I'm just like, hey Bailey, like, what do you think the Timberwolves? Yeah, and she's like, you need to just write your thoughts or go do a podcast or something. Sounds good.
That's great, man. All right. Well, thanks a lot again for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll talk more in the fall probably as we get ready for the Timberwolves season, man. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Another team in town has been reaping the benefits of their recent draft pick, and that is the Minnesota Lynx, off to a hot start, sitting atop the WNBA standings. And a lot of the credit there goes to the play of number 2 pick in the draft, Olivia Miles. Here to talk about her, the Lynx, Cheryl Reeve, much more is the Star Tribune's Cassidy Hettesheimer. Cassidy, thanks a lot for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, how you been? How's the season going?
It's good. It's kind of wild to think that, we're already, 17 games in. So that puts somewhere between, a little over a third of the way through, which is pretty absurd to think. All-star voting is like about to, wrap up, which just, it feels like it just started. So it's really flying by.
Yeah, and a week or so ago, the W announced that they're going to 50 games next season. So like, just continuing to grow and expand, and more TV money and more player, higher salaries, and it's really exciting to see the W just continue to expand and grow.
For sure. It's been a fun ride to cover this season, and when I was able to kind of get over there a little bit the past couple years as well.
Yeah, good timing for you. For those that don't remember, Cassidy joined. We talked about high school girls basketball. She was covering prep sports for the Star Tribune a few months ago, and now moved into the professional ranks. So, exciting change for you. I want to start with the Lynx, kind of just about the overall season, because I don't think expectations were super high for the team, especially with Collier being out, and some shuffling with the starting lineup and players kind of coming and going. But what has been your observation on the team, both from like how they felt going in, and like maybe internally they felt they were ready to compete, but from the outside looking in, it did not really seem like a team that was going to be a top 4 team in the W this year?
Yeah, I think going in, even head coach Cheryl Reeve acknowledged that this new era of the WNBA, and sort of the composition of the salary cap with supermax and max contracts, was going to make it tougher to sort of have the depth that the team, had kind of relied on the past couple of years. Obviously, with a star player like Napheesa Collier as well, but just sort of their ability to run, 7, 8 players deep, and then to see some of those players go and then sign massive contracts in other places, get starting roles. Part of that, of course, as well, credit to what they were able to do there here in Minnesota. That kind of gets them those looks as, sixth player of the year votes and all that good stuff. But I think even Cheryl acknowledged sort of ahead of the season that there were more questions than answers.
Mm.
Whether it was how the starting lineup was going to gel, when Fee and Dorka Juhas would return eventually from injury, and kind of what that would look like until then. But I think that she's even said that she's been impressed by how quickly the starting five have gelled together. Um, I think the depth has been something that's been a little more touch and go, and something that will dramatically improve once they are at full strength, whenever that may be. And I think the other X factor, just how early this season has been, how fast Olivia Miles has acclimated to the WNBA. On draft night, media were at the facilities and get to talk with Cheryl afterwards, and kind of her talking about how important the point guard position is and how important it is to have a generational talent running point.
Mhm.
And that's important to dynasties. We saw Lindsay Whalen here, and um, kind of knowing that picking a player like that would set them up well for the future. But the fact that she's been able to come in and pretty quickly pick up and, find ways to impact games. Obviously, the past couple games, we've seen like she still has, rookie moments or spells, but like, so do vets too,
Yeah.
make, errors and stuff down the stretch of games. But overall, I mean, just when you look at the way that she's been able to impact games, that's not really like a wait and see impact. It's been pretty immediate, which has gotten them off to the good start that they've gotten off to.
Yeah, and like I think too, a credit to Cheryl and just the team and Courtney Williams too,
Hmm.
like being able to play alongside that and like kind of give up maybe your primary ball handling role, fill a different role, and she's just kind of flowed into it too and playing off Olivia. Like it just seems like there's been this instant chemistry with the group, which is what's led them to be 13-4 so far.
Yeah, the word that Courtney kept using kind of towards the start of the season and in training camp and around draft night was she was overly excited. Overly excited, to get to play alongside Miles and get to go back to kind of her natural scoring role. And I think that in their best games this season so far, like the team has seen the ability to tap into you know her still on the pick and roll and on being able to create. She still has all those like skill sets, but just kind of playing in a way that um is allowing her to really be aggressive like offensively. And she's found a really good flow and putting up you know some some numbers that really stack up kind of career wise for her.
Yeah. So Williams and McBride are the two returning starters
Mhm.
from last year. Um, Coffey and Howard kind of stepping into the starting roles right now, but they've had moments where they've, been phenomenal.
Mhm.
If people don't know, Nia Coffey from Hopkins, I believe it's Hopkins, uh,
Yes.
sister of Amir Coffey, who's in the NBA. So, local angle there, but like, talk about, those two and how they filled a role because they're not overly large. I mean, they're the largest starters they have, the biggest players they have in the starting five, but they're elite defensively as a team, and
Mhm.
I'm guessing a lot of it has to do with those two.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that, yeah, obviously they've held it down. Nia's up there, I think sixth when I checked. This was before the slate of games they had last night. In terms of blocks per game, I think she's averaging like 1.5. And then Howard's going up, playing against some much larger post players, but is really, often has the footwork and the speed and the agility to, kind of make it hard for them on both ends of the court. They're two players that are, came in and are making like Nia's making, a bit above that minimum. I believe it's like just shy of 728,000 for 2 years, and Howard's making about that much, but for a 1 year deal, and so or for on a 2 year deal, but about that much per season. Um And, they've just been able to, make such impacts in Cheryl's system. Obviously, Howard's a player that she's familiar with from back in the start of her career when she was here for 2 seasons and, won a title in 2017, I believe, but, has really been able to, go off and, show her, um, her ability to impact, and then kind of come here and really maximize that in this lineup that they have.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated with defensive schemes and
Mhm.
like how teams, you see a lot of teams, and like the Spurs are a great example of like huge paint presence, everything's contested at the rim, and it forces teams to shoot a lot of outside shots.
Mhm.
You mentioned Coffey being one of the league leaders in blocks, but like what else? I mean, the outside, the perimeter pressure has to be disruptive. Like what are you seeing from them defensively that's made them so good this so far through this season?
I mean, the the stat that like Cheryl and the team love the most, and like I was like, I've been here, this is my first like season covering the team regularly. Before that, like kind of uh, here and there. And the stat they love is their ability to hold an opponent below 40% shooting, and their all-time record in that. I don't believe they've managed the last game, and so they were, I believe, before that, like 213, I believe, since 2010 or 2011 when they're able to do that. So that's something they like really hang their hat on, of like forcing low quality shots. It's kind of been different, I feel like, depending on the matchup a little bit this year. Like there's been a couple teams like Golden State, even like when Washington came in here and they lost this week or like this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
this past weekend, forcing them to take way more threes than they do. Washington's not typically a good 3-point shooting team. I believe they came in averaging around 28%. And they ended up hitting some more than that. But just trying to really make that make things difficult, for opponents. And someone that I know the team has given a lot of kudos to defensively, at least on the perimeter, has been Kayla McBride.
Mm-hmm.
Having her chase around players like Paige Beckers, like Ryan Howard, just kind of taking on the team's lead, guard, and just 40 almost 40 minutes of tag
Yeah.
with them. But
Um, what is the status of Collier and her like return? Are you getting any indication? Like, does the media? I'm sure the team and Cheryl are pretty quiet about that, but is there
yeah.
a timeline that they said, All-Star break, or what is it?
Yeah, obviously, like you said it, that they, will keep as much competitive advantage as they can by, playing things close to the chest. But the latest update was that, I mean, they have been with the beginning of the season, the timeline for Collier was that she would return to basketball activities by early June, and she had returned to basketball on court activities by early June. She was shooting around with the team at, to some extent, like late May, has been here through June, but obviously, the ability to shoot the basketball is not, playing basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and, full 5-on-5. And so the latest about both of them, was, prior to, that last game against Washington. Cheryl said she felt that in a couple of weeks that she felt like trainers may come to her and say that they are cleared for practices. But that's what we have. So that's kind of what to go with. But it's kind of been, something that's kind of been the state of uncertainty that, big questions going into the season that I think are one of those things that when you look at certain specific matchups or size is a factor, especially
Yeah.
they'll
I mean,
be
playing the
they'll be
Aces
wanting them
again.
back.
Like if you're
Yeah,
gonna be playing the Aces in the playoffs, you're gonna need
yeah,
Dorgat or Best
yeah,
probably, and
yeah.
and
So
Fee too.
yeah, I mean, and then, Cheryl made the point that, the timeline, from a return to practice is dependent on how players respond to certain things and certain steps of the progression of 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 and 5-on-5 and all those different things. So, knowing we're a month out from All-Star break, sort of my thought is like make of that, what you will. I don't know if there's, anything you can say for certain, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, if you're saying 2 weeks and they're probably practicing more live, 2 weeks of that, and then you're at the All-Star break and you probably come back and people feel good. I feel like a lot of coaches like that kind of time frame because then you get, when you're playing games, you can't work your way in with the starting unit in as much, you're just not practicing as much. So if you get some time off together, that seems like a natural fit. Um,
Until
so
they're
you,
all in at All-Star.
well, yeah. How many of them? What are you thinking? I mean, Olivia Miles probably, and
I think
and
Olivia Miles to me it feels like a pretty safe lock. I think
yeah.
Natasha Howard is playing at an all-star caliber level.
Okay.
Um, I think so basically the way that works in the WNBA is the so 50% fan vote, 25% media and players pick the starters and then coaches pick the remaining reserves.
Okay.
And so I think that then you get
Coaches
some
love
players
Howard.
that, yeah, or
Yeah.
not just not her necessarily, like not
Oh.
saying her like yes, like I would be confident that yeah, I mean maybe if fan votes here or there, like but that she would get the nod that way. But then you look at players like Courtney Williams, who we talked about, who's like
Mhm.
having she was an all-star last year and is having a season um that is just as impact, obviously in a slightly different role, but just as impactful, for the Lynx. Um, so yeah, no, I'll be interested to see. And then if
Yeah.
Cheryl, if the Lynx have a top 2 record, then Cheryl gets to coach too. So
Yeah.
there might be a whole Minnesota contingent again, like there was last
Yeah,
year.
there you go. And generally, right, when you have a good record, you're tops in the league, you're going to get,
Yeah,
more than one player on the team. So, speaking of Cheryl, I'm curious, you said first year full-time covering the team, basically. What is your impressions of her as, like a coach, just like motivator, executions, like what stands out? She's obviously one of the greatest WNBA coaches of all time, professional basketball coaches in this country of all time. Um, 4 titles, a couple trips to the finals. Like she's got a legacy. What
yeah,
is it that stands out as someone who's kind of new to covering her?
yeah. Yeah, no, and then add to that Hall of Fame,
USA.
Women's
I mean,
Basketball Hall of Fame
yeah,
induction this
right.
weekend, and probably setting the 3 wins away, I think, from setting the all-time regular season record. She's already got the playoff regular season one. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, the point being, um, I think that the thing, yeah, like you said though, like, all that stuff, obviously, the winning caliber and what teams are able to do on the court, that's stuff that uh you can turn on the TV and see. I think the thing that probably has stood out to me the most, like early in the season, was this came up at a media availability at some point early in the season. This was post training camp, but I think in the kind of the first couple weeks of the season. And I'm going to be completely honest. I'm trying to remember the exact question that had kind of spurred it. I don't know if it was talking about how she's really praised uh McBride and Williams this year for sort of their ability to like be leaders and kind of be the on the court. Obviously, Fee is still there and around and isn't the third captain on that team. But kind of bridge a piece of continuity between the last few years and this year and kind of just be a steadying force on this team. And at some point she kind of got a little deeper into how much like people matter
Mm.
sort of to her and to the organization of like uh like of how much like the ceiling raises when you have the right people and you have people that are really bought into a system and that aren't going to play selfishly and that you kind of have the right personnel in the right roles. And so I think that that's the thing that has stood out to me the most, both like on the court when you look at players like Nia and like Natasha Howard, where you're maybe not, we know a couple of the players that they swung for in free agency, and maybe Cheryl gave a shout out when they were in LA to the balloon situation.
Um,
With kind of trying to get some players in free agency, but the ability to kind of like look at players and fit them into roles that are going to be really effective for their team. And then, okay, I'll get full circle here. But I think that, kind of more off the court, like that looks like the ability to retain players, when Howard comes back, right? And like wants to come back and here and finish her career here. When you look at the coaching staff and how many former players
mhm.
play here, or even in covering when Portland came and Sylvia Fowles was assistant coach there, and when Toronto came and Rogers now, Wright Rogers is their GM. Like it sounded like Cheryl was having conversations at certain points about bringing them back, and then the fit just worked elsewhere, the timing with different roles opening, but just kind of the ability to like keep those good people close is something that feels like is not a bad is extends beyond the world of basketball.
Yeah.
Just sort of into organizational like foundation building.
Right. It seems you mentioned the coaches. I was going to bring that up because that's apparent that if you didn't like playing for her, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of people who are around her that are like, no, I can't deal with her, or I just didn't enjoy my time there. So that's key, but it's also a great, and I don't know how prevalent this is in the WNBA, but that she's GM and coach. So like you
Mhm.
said, if she's good at evaluating people and knows what that is about, she can bring them in, and then she gets to coach them, which isn't always a luxury for other teams and organizations where the GM might like somebody's talent, but the coach doesn't like the fit and things like that. And so obviously they try to work those out, but she's one and the same, and she's doing it. She's done it at such unique. What stands out to me is early on it was the Maya Moore, Simone
Mhm.
Augustus, those teams just full of talent. In the last few years, it's like, okay, yeah, you got Collier, but there's a lot of just like kind of grinders, obviously there's talent. Like McBride's a great shooter, and you mentioned Courtney Williams, but like they're kind of doing it in a different way than they did at the start of her run, which tells me that she can just put it together and just can figure out how people can play to their best ability as a group.
Yeah, I mean, I think, um, yeah, no, I agree with that, and you kind of see even with like the departures this year, like did a story on kind of where the free agents from last year's team ended up, and um, I think besides Atlanta Smith's had kind of a slower start in Dallas, but um, you look at players specifically when I think about them of like Natisha Hettesheimer and Bridget Carlton that are brought into maybe younger teams or teams that are kind of, figuring out their identity of like a lot of young players in Seattle or a new team expansion. And both their coaches, when they came here, kind of talked about like how much what they were doing with the Lynx has been beneficial to like have them in the locker room and have them. I think, Portland's coach specifically was like when you have a player that's been coached, like Bridget was coached here in Minnesota, you can just have conversations at a higher level and sort of
Mhm.
like that spreads throughout the team. So yeah, I think whether it's like here or beyond, that's like kind of proof of in the pudding.
Yeah, you mentioned Heidemann, and it makes me nostalgic for the stud buds being on the same team, but that's all right. Well, this is a great insight. I appreciate you coming on. Hope you get to cover another finals in your first year. That'd be pretty exciting. I know you had a great article on Nia Coffey. Anything else you want to plug related to your coverage and your work?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that one was fun to put together just with all the local connections. It was like I can move from writing, covering prefs to covering pros, but I'm still gonna write about Hopkins
Yeah,
basketball.
whether it's
Between
Paige or
yeah, or
Coffee or
Nia,
anybody. Yeah,
yeah. They just, that and probably won't stop, they got some good
no,
players in college too.
yeah,
That could be in the pros here in the next couple years. But uh no, so yeah, that one if people haven't checked it out, I think she's just been such a impactful player for them in this role that she's had early in the season. But then other than that, we've got um, game coverage, trying to write things that aren't just rehashing what you saw on screen as a viewer, but
Mhm.
giving some insight into what this means for the team or a specific player. So yeah, it's all over at startribune.com/sports, and everything else that'll pop up here in the next, weeks, months.
Yeah. As a former Star Tribune employee, I will always be one of the first to shout out the Strib and their coverage and the journalism that happens over there. So, uh, if you don't, get a subscription, digital or print, but a lot of digital subscriptions nowadays. So,
Mhm.
I've always enjoyed reading the Strib and having a strong, thriving local journalism is important. So, shouts to the Strib.
Yes, appreciate it.
Kathy, thanks so much for coming on. Enjoy the season, and maybe we'll catch up September, October, depending on how
Mhm.
the Lynx are looking. I'm guessing they'll be in the mix, so we might ask you to come back on if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That is the show for today. Thank you to my guests, Derek Long and Cassidy Hettesheimer from the Star Tribune. I appreciate the contributions. A lot going on. It was a big show. More to come. I don't think the Wolves are quite done with making moves, and the Lynx here have a couple of weeks yet before the All-Star break, and they get Napheesa Collier back and Dorka in the middle. So it should be a exciting couple of weeks. As I said earlier in the pod, I'm heading out to Las Vegas here in about 2 weeks, roughly, for Summer League. So we'll be doing a special podcast out there. Probably nothing around the 4th of July, but I do appreciate you all listening. I appreciate you sticking around for the rest of the episode. And of course, if you get a chance, please share this with a friend. Follow on Apple, Spotify, Amazon. Give us a follow on Instagram and Blue Sky. And also, we're now on TikTok. So feel free to follow if you are on TikTok as well. Again, thanks to everyone for being here. Thanks for listening. This has been the Splash City Basketball Podcast.
Back in that bag again.